Hey guys, Matt here from Seeds of Awareness. Welcome to the Awakening series. This is episode 7 and this is titled The Balance and Harmony of the Universe. So I believe that there is a perfect balance and harmony in the universe, and we can see evidence of this whether we look at the universe from a macro scale, such as how the solar systems and the planets and the suns and the galaxies all interact with each other in this perfect dance and harmony, or if we look at it and study it on more of a micro level, such as the cells in the human body or atoms and particles and things on that tiny scale, and we see they also dance with each other and interrelate in a perfect harmony as well. So it just exists on every levels, whether it's here on Earth in the human body or out there in the universe on a macro scale. And mainstream materialist science will sort of tell us that this happens because of mechanical laws that just kind of came about by chance, and just because that's just the way the universe fell together. The universe just happened to fall together in this perfect balance. I mean, to me, that sounds ridiculous. And to me, that's kind of like a tornado going through flowing through a junkyard and somehow assembling a 747 jumbo jet. I just think the chances of the universe is falling together in this perfect way, creating these incredible life forms, these incredible laws, and then consistently maintaining this perfect balance and equilibrium is just implausible. So I definitely, through my own awakening process and my own experiences, I've come to the conclusion that there is a hidden force, a hidden hand that is actually guiding everything together, that is permeating into every atom, every molecule of this entire universe, including us, and making constantly moving everything towards this perfect harmony and balance and equilibrium. And many cultures, many people refer to this hidden hand as God. It's obviously been talked about and explored and researched for as long as we've existed. We've been fascinated by what is this hidden power that is creating this perfect balance here. It's really interesting when we look at it from that perspective, because this hidden hand, this infinite intelligence, is so to be able to harmonize absolutely everything in the universe together. When you think of how many things there are, it must be an intelligence. It must be a power that there is no way that the human mind could ever possibly comprehend. So we've got two choices. We can either try to understand it and try to willfully see how we can fit into this balance of the world and the universe, or we can realize that it's beyond our comprehension and actually just surrender to it. And we see that that's actually what every other life form does. They don't think about what they need to do. The birds don't think about what they need to do each day. The animals don't think. The trees and plants, they're not thinking about how to grow. They're just being. And by just being and doing based on the instincts and the intuition and the internal body intelligence that they've been given inside their DNA, inside their cells, by just surrendering to that and operating from that each day, they're performing functions that help this perfect balance, especially here on planet Earth, but also the perfect balance everywhere, because everything is interrelated. And that's the thing with this. When we study nature and study how the universe works, we realize that whilst things are seeming separate and independent from each other, such as the birds seem separate from the trees and the trees seem separate from the animals and the animals seem separate from the soil, when you study it closely, you realize that there is no separation. They all rely on each other on such an intimate level that if one of them was taken away, it upsets the balance of everything. Now, that doesn't mean if one thing was taken away, that ecosystem is destroyed, because there's always this hidden hand making adjustments, making corrections, and maintaining this absolute perfect balance. So I believe that humanity, we're here for a purpose, because we help maintain this balance and harmony. And we live in a system that is kind of made us feel the opposite, made us feel that we're an accident, the universe is an accident, we're purposeless, we're just here to be economic slaves to a beast of a system that's there to constantly impose its authority over us. But the reality is we've been created by nature, we're a perfect creation, we're a perfect creation within a perfect creation, and we serve a function. But I also believe that our humanity, our societies have been hijacked by darker forces that seek to direct our energy away from the perfect balance of nature and direct it into nourishing their insatiable desire for power and conquest over others. But that is a whole different topic. So when we look at human societies, because of this sort of sinister dark force that has hijacked us and corrupted us in so many ways, we realize that we're not operating in ways that, interrelate, or what's the right word? Humanity are not operating in ways that coexist very well with the balance on this planet. It took me a while to find that word. So we're operating in ways that actually upset the balance, because rather than harmonize with the planet, rather than find a way to integrate with nature, we're constantly trying to conquer nature. We're trying to expand over nature and make nature submit to our authority. And the way we treat plant life, the way we treat animal life, it's just riddled with kind of like abuse and corruption and exploitation. And that's not to say that's the fault of each individual person. You may not do that. I know I certainly try not to do that, but it's just the nature of the direction our societies have taken because of this dark force and these evil forces that have hijacked our societies. So often we play along with that because we don't know any different, because we've been programmed and brainwashed into that way of living where we just think nature is like a supermarket for us to either use to our advantage or take what we want and not have to give back. But the reality is, if we keep doing that like we have been for so long, then we upset the balance and we start hurting planet Earth, and we start causing sort of cause and effect changes that has consequences. And we've seen more and more awareness arise about this in recent years. But the funny thing is that the activism that arises is always based on this fear about what's going to happen to humanity, what's going to happen to the future children, and what's going to happen to planet Earth. And the thing is, we don't really need to be worried about what's going to happen to planet Earth. And I know that might sound I know that might sound like a bit of a contradiction, but the reality is planet Earth is going to be absolutely fine, no matter what we do to it. Obviously, if we like nuked it with something that just obliterated all life form, that would obviously be something planet Earth would struggle to bounce back from. But the thing is, we go back to that hidden hand. Even if we are destroying ecosystems, making animals extinct, planet Earth will find a way to rebalance itself. It always does. Planet Earth has been hit with meteorites that have sent her into 10,000 years of darkness where basically no life form could exist. And look at her now. She's absolutely flourishing with life forms. So it's our arrogance that thinks we're hurting planet Earth. What we're really hurting is ourselves, because the divine, this hidden hand, if we don't realize that we need to start harmonizing with nature, if we don't get with the program, this hidden hand will eradicate us, because anything that doesn't serve the balance, that's upsetting the equilibrium, is dealt with in some way or another. And whether it'll be through cataclysms, whether it'll be through sending a comet, a meteor our way and just wiping us off and starting again, nature can do that quite easily. Nature doesn't have a time frame that it's worried about, and it will eventually reharmonize the balance and probably do it much better without humans there. So it's actually in it's in our best interest to start harmonizing, and not so much not need to be worrying so much about the planet, because, as I said, the planet will be absolutely fine. And even if the worst case scenario, Earth got turned into like a barren planet like Mars, where there's no life that exists, to the even a bigger, more macro scale, that doesn't really matter, because the solar system will adjust itself around that. The balance of the universe would not be upset. There would be corrections put in place by the hidden hand that would make it so that it doesn't upset the greater balance. So our concern needs to be harmonizing ourselves to it so that we can keep existing as a species, so that we're actually serving something towards the balance rather than actually upsetting it. And that starts with each individual person. So that starts with you and me. So the only way I believe how to do this is to come back to being, is to look at all the other animals, all the other life forms on this planet, and realize they're all acting from this place of being. They're not thinking about how to interact and how to operate in the world. They're not thinking about how to serve the balance, the harmony. They're just operating on their instincts, operating on their intuition, operating on the intelligence that was given to them by their creator within their body, and that guides them in every single movement they make to serve the balance. So it's no different with us. The problem is we've been disconnected from our bodies. We've been sort of programmed, we've been disconnected from our bodies so that we get stuck in the head, get stuck in the mind instead of the body intelligence, and then we get brainwashed. We get brainwashed in school, we get brainwashed by the media, we get brainwashed by our culture, by our family, to the point where we're so far separated from our body intelligence that we've forgotten how to be. So what we need to embark on individually is a journey to come down from the head, which is that realm of thought, that realm of anxiety and fear and paranoia and constant projection in the future and constant worry about the past, and come back down into the body where we can just start operating from that intuitive body intelligence, and that will guide us each day. Now, this is easier said than done, because when we've been stuck in the head for so long, the body can seem like a scary, unfamiliar place. And when we come back into the body, we can feel a whole lot of energies and a whole lot of emotions come up that feel scary, that feel alien, that we don't know how to control and manage because we've never been taught how to do that. And also the only way we've learned how to deal with them is to cope, is to kind of suppress them with pharmaceuticals, with all sorts of addictions, whether it be food, drugs, alcohol, Netflix, porn. There's so many different addictions, gambling, sex. We create these addictions because we've got traumas and pains in our body that we don't know how to deal with. So we try to look for these quick fixes. So the first step to coming back into the body is to remove your addictions. And for me, I even had to start removing, things like caffeine out of my lifestyle. Because I found, everyone's different, but I found coffee and chocolate and teas and things like that, for whatever reason, gave me anxiety and kept me more up in my head. I know other people can deal with those sort of things a bit better, but only you know personally what you're doing each day that's keeping you in your head and keeping you kind of numbed and disconnected from your body and suppressing the energies in your body so that you don't feel them. But when you do feel them, and when you allow them to come up, they can be scary and painful, but they can also they're also really beautiful, because you can now allow those feelings to guide you in your movements each day. And that's when you've begun the process of coming back to being. And it can really transform your life, because when you really trust those feelings and trust the body intelligence, trust the guidance system that nature gave you, you realize it often is steering you in way different directions than what your culture and what society has sort of programmed you into thinking the direction you need to go. So, often people, when they start becoming more embodied like this, they change their job, they might even change the partner they're with, they change their diet, they change their exercise routine, their habits, they might change, they may also change the people that they hang out with as well. And all of this will feel very natural, and it will definitely lead you towards more happiness in your life, because these energies, if you trust them, this body intelligence, which I believe is the divine working through you, is the hidden hand, is God, whatever you want to call it, working through you. If you trust that, and if you surrender to it, and if you do the inner work to come back into your body and be in harmony with it, it will steer you towards harmony in every single way in your life. Whereas if you notice, when you're disconnected from it, when you're stuck in your head, when you're projecting into the future, stressing about the past, trying to overanalyze everything, then that's when you'll find you'll make decisions out of fear. You'll make decisions out of false hope and projection of the future and cravings and desires, rather than just accepting what is. And when you're stuck in that head-centric way of living, of projecting into the future and living in the past and never in the moment, and living based on fear and anxiety and false hope and all those sort of things, then you're disconnecting yourself from the divine. You're disconnecting yourself from the harmony. So what we really need is a kind of person-by-person revolution where each person becomes embodied, not relying on society or our leaders to make the changes, but each of us make these changes in our life. And we have the opportunity to do this every single second we're alive, because you never stop being. So that's really what I believe it comes down to, and it's up to us to take the responsibility for it. But it is a beautiful and transformative process. So I hope that provides some good guidance. If you do like my content or want to know a bit more about how to become embodied, about what might be blocking you from living in your body, as well as understanding the forces that exist in the world that are trying to stop you from being embodied and living from that place of being, then I do have this book that I spent a number of years putting together. It's called Free Range Humans. And this is available for sale as a hard copy, or it's also available as an audio book, and I'll put all the links in the info section. And just to finish off, this is not to demonize living in the head. I mean, I believe the head is a brilliant intelligence that nature gave us that really does separate us from all other life forms. So it's not about demonizing that or never using it. It's just not about being controlled by it. I believe our head-centric intelligence is a tool that the divine uses when it works through us. But what we've done is we've become a slave to that tool, believing it's the prime intelligence, and severed ourselves from the divine. So we're sort of operating by our head-centric intelligence and our ego, but without that higher guidance system that comes from the hidden hand working through us. So anyway, I think I've made the point by now. Please grab my book if you want to look into these subjects in more depth, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.